Superman Ultimate Flight is a Premier Ride Skyrocket 2 roller coaster located at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Superman originally opened in 2012, and the Skyrocket 2 model has become very popular, especially with the SeaWorld chain. The appeal with this ride is that you can fit a lot into a very small space. This is a fun attraction, but it doesn't even have 1,000 feet of track. So right off the bat, give Premier Rides a lot of credit with engineering this roller coaster to begin with. Unfortunately though, like the rest of Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, Superman is pretty much devoid of any theming. It's definitely not a question of space, because there is definitely a little bit of room in the queue where you could have put something cool, but a Superman poster does not count as theming in my book. Now, before we get to the ride experience, a couple other things of note. First, I think this fits in perfectly with the park's skyline, which is quite a good one. I always enjoy walking up to or driving by this park because there's so many roller coasters close together that it creates a great skyline. And outside of the lack of theming, the appearance of this coaster is very good. I'm a fan of the paint scheme with the red track and the blue supports. Now, one last thing. This is one of the busiest rides in the park. I would suggest trying to ride this early because there can only be one train on the track at a time, which doesn't help. Assuming you get to Discovery Kingdom at opening, I would suggest going to Joker first and then moving on to Superman, but definitely try to hit this one early if possible. Now, let's move on to the ride experience. Firstly, as I said, there's only one train, and it is a tight train. You have to squeeze your way in, that's for sure. Luckily though, the restraint system is a seatbelt with a lap bar. Don't worry, you're not going anywhere, but it's definitely a more freeing restraint than an over-the-shoulder restraint would be. You then begin your ride experience with a tame launch forward before passing backward with a little more force. Things are starting to get heated up already, and I like how you kinda just hang there for a couple of seconds before going through the final and fastest launch. I presume this final launch is where you reach your top speed of 62 miles an hour before you rapidly climb upwards, getting a great pop of airtime as you crest that first hill. But the ride is only getting started. It then throws an inline twist at you, which provides some insane hang time. Because you take this element pretty slow, you are hanging there for what feels like forever. It's a really cool feeling, but if you're not a fan of hang time or airtime for that matter, then this is most certainly not the ride for you. For many though, this signature element is their favorite part of the ride. I can certainly see why, for it is quite memorable. After this inversion, you pause to halt your scream for a half second before going down an insane twisting drop. If you like airtime and laterals mixed together, then this drop is for you. It's wild. It's wild no matter where you're sitting, but if you're riding in the back especially. The reason being is that you absolutely get yanked down this drop. One of the wildest drops I've experienced leads directly into a non-inverting loop. This is an interesting element, and you kinda stall at the top. To me, it really kinda did feel like you were just floating there, and it's a cool feeling and a very big contrast to the hang time and air time you just experienced. And in my opinion, the non-inverting loop is pretty much a perfect follow-up to the drop before. It's a fun maneuver, but unfortunately, after passing through the station one time, your ride is already over. Admittedly, this is a very short roller coaster, but it has no shortage of thrills in its short layout. It's certainly not a ride for everyone, with those launches, the backward section, the forward sections, the hang time, the air time, the laterals, the non-inverting loop. Yeah, I tell you, they really did do a lot here. So, for a final score, I'm going to give Superman Ultimate Flight an 8.5 out of 10. This Premier Rides coaster does much more right than wrong, and it's a genuinely fun experience. It has all the great elements, and it's impeccably smooth, by the way, one of the smoothest coasters on Earth. But it is very short, which definitely holds it back when you compare it to other coasters in its respective park. Personally, I'd put it behind Medusa at number 2, because Medusa just has so much more length, along with being smooth like Superman. But despite the immense amount of fun I had on Superman, the clear-cut best coaster in the park is undoubtedly Joker. It takes the best elements of Superman with the airtime, the smoothness, and hang time and makes it into a much longer experience. That being said, Superman is a good time and one of the better coasters in the park, and I highly recommend you ride it when you go to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, because I think you'll have a lot of fun on it. Now, if you want to hear more about Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, check out my review I made. Trust me, it's pretty good.